So we got another piece of news. We got some news. Today is a big day if you live in the country of Brazil, because there's an election going on. You might not know this. So polls put Lula on the brink of a comeback victory over Bolsonaro in Brazil. So there's an election going on in Brazil now. Again, this is a bizarre story. Lula is the former president of Brazil, and then he retired. He's like, all right, I did my thing, I'm gonna get the hell out of here. And then a bunch of right-wingers basically just destroyed the government and took it over, and Lula was thrown in jail for some trumped up, made up charges. And then now he's out of jail, and now he's about to win the election. Now it's looking pretty good for Lula in this election here. But let's read this. This is from The Guardian, so you know, who knows what's going to be in this piece. Brazil's former left-wing president Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva is on the brink of an astonishing political comeback, with polls suggesting he is poised to defeat his far-right rival Jair Bolsonaro in Sunday's election. Eve of election polls suggest Lula was within a whisker of securing the overall majority of votes that would guarantee him a first-round victory. So what happens is if you get 50% plus 1, you win. If you get, let's say, 49% and your opponent gets like 43%, but you get the plurality, but it's not a majority, it enters a runoff, which would take place at the end of the month. So that basically just gives more time for, you know, Bolsonaro to fuck around, and who knows what would happen, right? So, you know, it's better if Lula wins on the first round, but you know, as long as he wins either way, that's the good part. Quote, I'm going to win these elections so I can give the people the right to be happy again. The people need, deserve, and have the right to be happy once more, Lula, 76, told journalists on Saturday during a visit to Sao Paulo, one of the election's 3 key battlegrounds alongside the states of Rio de Janeiro and Minas Gerais. Jose Roberto de Toledo, a political columnist for the news website UOL, said Lula would undoubtedly come out on top when 156 million citizens voted in what is considered Brazil's most important election in decades. Pollsters give the leftist veteran a 14-point lead over Bolsonaro, the hardline nationalist. So Bolsonaro's just garbage, man. Like, Bolsonaro, dumpster fire. Like, this guy's burning down the Amazon, killing indigenous people. He got COVID like 89 times, right? You know, there's actual political assassinations that have been tied to his family. His family has, like, you know, mafia connections and, you know, like gangster connections that have done literal political assassinations directly tied to his son, his family. He's got corrupt motherfuckers all over the government. So again, Brazil's right wing, they are really fucked up motherfuckers, right? So who knows what's going to go on here. And also, who even knows if Bolsonaro would give up power? I mean, like, you know, Bolsonaro was really good friends with Donald Trump and Donald Trump's White House. You know, again, Bolsonaro visited the United States, but in a rare move, went to the CIA before he met with the president. Why would that happen? Who knows? But when he came to the United States in 2018, he met with the CIA before anything else. That's very weird. So anyway, who knows if Bolsonaro's got military ties that are willing to basically overtake the country and put it into a military junta once again. People in the right wing of Brazil have threatened that. So I don't know. I don't live in Brazil, so I can't really tell you how likely any of these scenarios are. All I can do is read the news. But Toledo feared Lula might just fall short of the 50% required to avoid a fractious runoff against Bolsonaro on 30th of October, opening the door to a month of uncertainty and political violence. Quote, I think what's more likely is that there will be a second round, Toledo said, warning of terrible consequences if that occurred, given the wave of attacks and murders that have marred the lead up to the election. There's a lot of political violence on Bolsonaro's side. And again, a lot of it is directly tied to Bolsonaro and his family. Again, there have been literal, like, political assassinations that have been directly tied to Bolsonaro's family. So again, there's a lot of fucked up bullshit going on in Brazil. If there's a second round, it'll be much worse than what it has been thus far. It would mean 4 weeks of gore, Toledo warned, adding, I hope I'm wrong. If Lula does prevail, it would represent a once unthinkable political resurrection for a former factory worker and union leader who became Brazil's first working class president in 2002. Lula stepped down after 2 terms in 2010 with approval ratings close to 90%. But the following decade saw the Workers' Party he helped found embroiled in a tangle of corruption scandals and accused of plunging Brazil into a brutal recession. Now, again, most, if not all, of these charges of corruption are basically just right-wing setups. Now, again, is the Workers' Party perfect? Absolutely not. Have they made mistakes? Absolutely. But I mean, when you compare them to how Bolsonaro's been governing, I don't know, man. You know what I mean? So now, again, it's come out that a lot of these so-called corruption charges have been made up. Of course, the most famous or infamous one being the one that put Lula in jail. He was jailed for something that didn't even happen, didn't even exist. It was totally made up. And then he was exonerated, and now that's why he's able to run for president again. But anyway, there you go. That's what's going on in Brazil. So hopefully Lula wins. If Lula won in Brazil, it would definitely be a pretty big event in world history. Why? Well, Brazil is one of the largest countries in the world. It's the largest in South America. It's got a lot of power geopolitically, and it's also a little bit of a bellwether for, again, you know, South America typically, historically, has been where a lot of left-wing governments have come out. Of course, now, again, the United States and other countries love to involve themselves in these left-wing wins and kill left-wing leaders. Of course, what happened in 1970s in Chile, other governments, of course. So whenever a left-winger wins in South America, you know, watch out, because, you know, the U.S. is going to be plotting against them pretty quickly. But again, there has been a lot of somewhat good left-wing stuff coming out of South America, and so Brazil having Lula win would be pretty big news. But again, I don't know. If anyone is going to turn a country into a military junta, I believe Bolsonaro would be top among that list. So, you know, it's definitely not over yet. Winning an election in Brazil, winning an election doesn't mean victory in the same way that in the United States. Joe Biden won the election in 2020, and look at what almost happened in this country. Right, so again, winning an election is just part one of a multi-step process, but hopefully everyone in Brazil, doesn't, have to deal with any more of the shit that's been going on, because Bolsonaro, man, that guy's pretty terrible. And also, it would be good to have more countries to root for, because right now we have a pretty short list. But anyway, definitely going to keep an eye on that one. So there you go.